Hello and welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. I'm Chrissy and I am the Mum Boss, and you're here this week for a Mum Boss at Home community check-in, which is where I go through all of my at-home community clients' wins, their challenges, and I help them out with what's been going on this week. And you get to listen to that too, you lucky lot. Just before I start, what's been going on for me this week? Well, let me tell you that after my sister-in-law's hen weekend, the weekend before last, I was pretty tired. I caught myself a little cold. It was a little head cold. It wasn't, anything too major, but little head cold, felt a bit rubbish, and needed to just take a couple of days rest. Then my husband's got off on my brother's stag do. He went on Thursday night. So I've been solo parenting for the weekend, which has been fun. I was actually meant to be going on a walking weekend in the Peak District, but one of our group, the lovely Katie, unfortunately fractured her foot, got a stress fracture in her foot. That's not ideal when you're meant to be going on a walking weekend. So we actually cancelled it. And instead we met for dinner on Saturday night, which was lovely. But sometimes there are silver linings. And whilst I wish that I had gone to the Peak District and got a lovely walking weekend in with the girls, actually, I really think I needed some time at home, some time to decompress. Yesterday, so that's Sunday, I went for an early run. I took Charlie to his football match. And when I got home, I spent a couple of hours cooking a roast dinner. And then once that was eaten, I just took time to chill on the sofa. I did some crafting. I did some snuggling with the dog and with Charlie. Watched a bit of trash TV once Charlie had gone back upstairs to go on his PlayStation with his friends, and just having that restful time and time not looking at my screen and my phone and stuff like that was really, really useful. So I'm really sad that we didn't get to go to the Peak District, but I'm really, really happy that I actually managed to get a little bit of chill time in. That was really important. Okay, so let's go through what the ladies have had going on this week. So Stacey, planning was her biggest win this week. It was really busy, but she'd prepped lunch for the week. She was really, sorry, I was about to say conscious, but it says veg couscous. I'm getting my eyes checked in 2 weeks, don't worry. And chicken, and she'd prepped breakfast for the weeks, and dinners were quick and easy. So absolutely smashed it there. Well done, Stacey. Lisa's steps increased and she enjoyed the fresh air and increased energy, finally feeling more like herself and smiling more. Now, Lisa obviously had some surgery a few weeks ago, and it took her a while to recover, longer than she'd expected. And this is just proof that, moving your body gives you energy. And I say that so often, I'm sure people roll their eyes at me. How do I get more energy? Move more. Our bodies, excuse me, our bodies are designed to move. We're not designed to sit, you know, like croissants on the sofa or potatoes on the sofa. Our bodies are designed to move. So we do need to move our bodies. And yes, obviously for Lisa, that was within the realms of what was possible for her post surgery, but definitely moving your body. So felt super positive and in control this week, which was a real welcome change after the last few weeks. What I would encourage you to think about, Soph, is what's different. So obviously you've had some challenges the last couple of weeks, but what made you change your mindset into feeling much more positive? Angela got lots of steps in yesterday despite being shattered. Well done, Angela. Okay, let's Move on to some of the challenges. So here's one: the curveballs and the lack of good sleep. I knew sleep was going to be impacted this week, but despite planning an evening routine to relax, etc., I still struggled with sleep, both falling asleep and staying asleep. So I know this person is dealing with some anxiety and some stress at the moment. And I've set them, they've actually moved into the Last Diet Club as of today. So I've personally set them some tasks around, setting that evening routine and really thinking about what that wind down routine looks like. What I would say is, if you have been struggling, the dog is making some strange noise. Here, we leave it. If you're struggling with sleep and you've got into this habit or this routine of either struggling to get to sleep or you're waking up at a certain time, like some of you might resonate with those times where you just, for days and days and days, you wake up at something like 3:04. I do it myself, and I just think to myself, how is it possible that my body is waking me up at this exact time every single day? It's crazy. But when you get into those habits through stress or anxiety or through poor sleep hygiene, whatever it is, it takes a while to get out of that. So be patient with that routine and with continuing with that. A couple of things that have really helped me the last couple of weeks, because I have just been so busy, what with organising the hen do, and then the wedding is a week tomorrow and things like that, is I'm being really strict with my screen time and with my working time and boundaries and things like that. It's it's really easy as a self-employed person whose office is in her house to just nip into my office and pick up my work phone or look at my laptop and just start answering messages and things. And I have had to be, yesterday I needed to send a couple of messages, and I could see I had other messages from other people excuse me. And unless I'd and I know my clients listen to this, so if you sent me a message on Sunday and I didn't answer it till Monday, this is why. I can see when they're urgent, and if they're not urgent, I know I need to give myself 24 hours to get back to you. I needed to take that time yesterday because I could feel that I've been quite stressed. So I would encourage you, if you are struggling with your sleep, think about all of the things that might be adding to that stress and what boundaries you can put in place. So for me, it's been boundaries around my phone and my laptop and even my personal phone, not scrolling my personal phone at night, and not just mindlessly watching TV at night. Me and one of my clients, Emily, kind of set each other a little bit of accountability with spending more time crafting during the week. So I really only have my only 2 weekdays where I'm not doing something in the evening or I'm not working in the evening, and Monday and Tuesday, and Mondays just seem to be chaotic. So really my only evening off is a Tuesday during the week. And Tom and I tend to sit down once we've had dinner and we'll watch House of the Dragon at the minute. And I was just sitting there mindlessly watching the TV, and instead what I've started doing is getting out some crafting. So I am crafting whilst the TV is on in the background, and I have slept so much better since doing that. So be mindful of how much time you're spending on your phone. If your phone gives you screen time reports every week, which I know Apple phones do, I would imagine Androids do as well, then have a look at what your screen time is. How much time are you spending on your phone? Can you reduce that? I know it is really, really difficult with sleep. I absolutely understand you. That it makes just the rest of the day more difficult. Keep going, keep implementing those habits and that routine, and remember that it takes time to rebuild those good sleep habits. Okay, a couple of the ladies here mentioned how bad the weather was last week and how that affected their steps. So I hit all my workouts, but hitting steps was a bit tougher due to all the bad weather. I didn't want to kill my mood by being miserable out walking in the rain. We'll do better this week. And then someone else said, pushing myself to get out for a walk when the weather is rubbish. Now listen, the weather last week was an absolute killer. Ordinarily, I would say that as long as it's safe, put on appropriate clothing and get yourself out. But last week, the floods and everything were ridiculous. So I don't blame you, you know, living in a village, the end of my road was flooded. I had to walk my child the wrong way around the village just to get him to the bus stop. It took him 20 minutes to get to the bus stop, and normally it takes him 4. Because I couldn't have him walk through that flood. He would have gone into school with wet shoes, socks, and trousers. So, and there, you know, also you could say, well, you could have driven him or just let him have the day off school. He was hoping for the second option there, but no, I made him walk. Also, the point around safety, it's getting darker. You know, I think it was 7 o'clock before there was even any light this morning. When I was doing my client workout this morning, it was still really dark. And it's obviously getting darker in the evenings as well. I don't want anyone going out there when it isn't safe. And it's really, really natural for your steps to go down a bit over the winter. A lot, you know, even I noticed this with even with a Cocker Spaniel that needs a lot of walking every day. Our walks tend to be just path walks around the village rather than taking him to the field, because I don't want to have to shower him 2 times a day. So some things to consider about how you can get your steps up a little bit. So if you use the gym, can you add 5 to 10 minutes of treadmill walking, maybe on an incline after your workout? You know, be more conscious of those lack of steps during the winter and make adjustments. So for example, go to the loo on a different floor. So obviously I work at home, I live in a townhouse, my office is on the middle floor, so if I need to go to the loo, I either go upstairs to my bedroom or I go downstairs to the hallway toilet rather than just nipping across the landing and going here. Can you make the effort to go for a daytime walk after you've eaten lunch? You know, a post-meal walk is so good for you, so good. It helps with digestion, it helps with you know, with like not getting that tiredness feeling. It helps your productivity in the afternoon. So how can you do that? How can you make those adjustments and have a little bit more time where you could get yourself some more steps? It does mean, you know, particularly around the safety point, it does mean thinking outside of the box a bit. Now, you might not have the time to go for a 30-minute walk at lunchtime, but I would say that for most of you, you do have a lunch break. Instead of perhaps sitting and scrolling your phone or just working through your lunch, can you take 10 minutes to just take some time outside? One of the things I did this weekend, after spending every single day yesterday drying 2 pairs of shoes, where I'd taken the dog out in the morning, those shoes had got wet, and then taken him out in the afternoon and those shoes had got wet. I've stopped buying wellies because I'm so sick of wellies that are really bad quality and they fall apart after 6 months, or they last one winter. So I've bought myself some welly style Chelsea boots. So they are fashionable but functional, because I figured that actually they'd be quite good for walking around the block with the dog rather than constantly having to dry trainers. They're probably not going to be, because they're Chelsea boots, they're probably not going to be very good for like a long walk, but just a daytime walk with the dog when it's chucking down with rain. That's what I've done. So just I would say get yourself some appropriate winter clothing and try where it's safe to get out as much as you can, and that might mean lunchtime. Oh, I've got a hair tickling my arm, that's horrible. Okay, So, mood, as I was tired and low, which sometimes doesn't lead to the best food choices. However, I am determined this week. I've batch cooked meals and I've done my measurements this morning. I've also tracked ahead for the day. Love that you've done those things. Love that you've taken action. I want to talk a little bit about the mood. When you're tired and low, and that doesn't always lead to the best food choices. And, I absolutely hear you. But here's something that I want you to think about. I just muted myself, which is helpful. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but my recording went all strange. Anyway, so we were talking about mood, when your mood, and sometimes that leads to not the best food choices. So something I want you to think about is I want you to be led less by your mood. Okay, so don't let your mood dictate what you're eating, but let your goals and how you want to feel dictate how you're acting. So don't react, don't act on your emotions and your mood. Instead, act on how you want to feel and what your goals are. Okay, so that could be, yes, I'm tired, and yes, I feel a bit low. So I could not go out for a walk today and eat a whole load of chocolate. But in reality, what is that going to help me to achieve? Will it make me feel better? No, not long term. It might make you feel better for about 5 minutes to eat a bar of chocolate, but is it going to leave you feeling better long term? No. So stop reacting to your mood and start acting in the way that you want to feel, and that will help you to make different choices. And I know that's really difficult and it takes lots of practice, but don't eat for your mood, because ultimately eating for your mood doesn't help. It actually makes it worse, because then you end up being cross with yourself because that's what you did. I've got some peppermint tea because I don't know about you, I find it harder I love really cold water, but when it is a bit chilly and miserable, I find cold water more difficult to drink. Okay, someone's challenge this week is their protein intake. I definitely need to work on this. So, lots of people struggle with their protein intake when they first start working with me. This person in particular has been working with me for quite a while. So, what I would say is, what is it that's stopping you from eating the amount of protein you used to? Is it the preparation? Is it that you've just got out of the habit? Is it that you're not thinking about it? So everyone should be thinking protein first. That's really important. I need a sip again. So get back into planning all of your meals around protein. Okay. Next one, this is on excuses. So this is leading on from the rain, stopping people from hitting their steps. They've carried on by saying, having said this, I do think I do a lot more steps than I log, as I've not been wearing my watch and also trying not to carry my phone around as much so I don't constantly look at it. I'm going to start wearing it again, not to do less walking, just out of interest to see how many steps I'm actually doing in the day. So I thought this was actually a really good point to mention something. So I've got a few clients who don't necessarily wear a watch at all, or a watch that counts steps. Okay, not everyone wants to wear a smartwatch, which is completely understandable. If you don't have a step counter on your watch, or you don't want a step counter on your watch, and you don't want to walk around holding your phone all the time, which is understandable. Who wants to walk to the toilet with their phone? I mean, the men in my life seem to, but anyway. Some of my clients have bought a really cheap £10 pedometer from Amazon, which they just clip onto their t-shirt or onto their waistband of their clothes, and that has been really super helpful to them. It's not a big investment, it's just something you can even put next to your phone, so that in the morning it's the first thing you kind of clip onto your clothes. But that gives you a really good idea of how active you're being. The thing to say is, like, take all of these devices with a pinch of salt, right? I've previously worn an Apple Watch, I think a Fitbit and a Garmin, and a pedometer on a day, and I got different, and had my phone on in my pocket for as much as I could remember for that whole day. And there were varying degrees of differences between all of those devices. It is a rough guesstimate of how much that you're doing. Okay. The thing is, if you're only doing 2,000 steps a day, you're not doing very much. But if you're doing 7, 8, 9,000 steps a day, the difference between 7 and 9,000 isn't really that important. The fact is you're being more active. So the point around the steps is to try and get you more active, not to have like a completely accurate reading. I had a question from one of my last Diet Club members a couple of weeks ago, and she said, I've just realized that the number that pulls through onto Everfit versus the number on my FitnessPal versus the number on my phone, they're three completely different numbers. Do you look at these? And this person was saying that they get 12,000 from one app. I think I was seeing 14,000 on our app, and then her phone or something was showing 15,000. That already puts her in the active bracket. The fact she's getting over 10,000 steps already puts her in the active bracket. So the difference between 12 and 15 doesn't really matter. It's when I can see that you're only doing, 2,000-3,000 steps that I'm going to be conscious of that. Okay. So yeah, just a point. And then remember the importance of the reason I talk about steps and general movement. There's a couple of things. So you've all of my clients on their daily habits have got on their daily habits getting outside for a walk. And yes, that's to get your steps, but that's because it's just really good for you to get outside and get some fresh air and get for a walk, even if it's raining. But the reason that I push you up to being more active, excuse me, generally, so getting more steps in, is because for those of you with a fat loss goal, firstly, being more active with your steps, getting more steps is going to have more of an impact on your calorie burn, your energy balance during the day than your exercise, for one. But being more generally active, and this is more important than that, is just healthy for you. Okay, it's just good for you to be more generally active. Again, I come into what I said to begin with. We were not created to just sit down all day. So that general movement is important, not just if you've got a fat loss goal, but also it just for general health. Okay, final question then. So I want to run the half marathon in June. Since my hip injury, I've stayed at around 3 to 3.5 mile distances, so as not to push it too hard. I need to work out what that is in kilometers because I can't remember. So like up to about 5.5 kilometers. So as not to push too hard, but I'm thinking I need to step this up soon. Do you have any tips for when to start training, how hard to push, etc.? I was thinking of extending my furthest run by 1 mile per month and then stepping things up a bit closer to June, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So June is still 8 months away, so you don't need to start a specific half marathon training plan now. In fact, what I would suggest you do is you start focusing on building your strength with weights and keeping your running ticking over and making sure you're doing things like strength, like mobility and stretching. But those weights, the weight training, particularly because running training is so hard on your body. You will want to be doing 3 runs a week in order to be ready for a half marathon. And it is hard going on your body. So you'll want to build yourself up with those weights to make sure that you are building strength, that you're keeping the joints stable, that you're preventing injury. Every single runner that I have worked with, when I've got them strength training 3 times a week, My client Inga is a phenomenal runner, but when she started working with me, she wasn't doing any weight training. She was more doing some HIIT training, and I've got her doing 3 weight training sessions a week, and her speed, her endurance, her strength in running has improved. So do not underestimate weight training as a runner. It is absolutely vital. Okay. So I would focus on that. I would focus on doing all the things you need to do to keep that hip injury healthy. And then I would say you want to be following a half marathon plan around January or February. And I wrote myself a 12-week training plan and started it. I actually gave myself longer than that. I think I gave myself 15 weeks, and I started it in like towards the end of January for the June half marathon. But you don't need to start doing that now. You need to keep your fitness level up, but you need to start, building strength in those muscles and everything. And obviously lean on me nearer the time if you would like me to create you a half marathon training plan. I'm happy to do that. But yeah, you keep your running going for sure. Increase those distances a bit. If you can go up to kind of the 4-5 mile mark, that's fine. But actually a lot of half marathon and marathon training. I'm sorry for coughing into the microphone, by the way, it's just sneaking up on me. But a lot of distance training is actually about getting miles under the belt rather than increasing your mileage week on week. So of course you will run almost up to the full distance before the race, but it's about improving your endurance, and there are specific ways that you do that through using a different run during the week for different things. So you'll do some speed training, some endurance training, you'll do a long run, you'll do a fast run, things like that. So great question. But yeah, for now, I would focus on keeping the running ticking over, looking after that hip, making sure you're building strength with your weight training, and then also keeping your flexibility and mobility and stretching in as well. I keep muting myself. I keep clicking on the wrong part of Zoom. That is everything for this week. Thank you so much for being here. I am opening a couple of one-to-one coaching spaces between now and the end of the year. So if you would like my help on your fitness, your health, your nutrition, your weight loss, so that you feel fab for Christmas, check out the link in the show notes. I would love to support you. You can apply there. I only take applications for one-to-one. Have an awesome week, everyone, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.